Thanks for joining me as we take a look at what's going to be our first major snowstorm, at least in southern Vermont, this winter. And it looks like everybody will get in on basically plowable snow in the southern four counties here in Vermont. Although there will be still a pretty big difference between how much snow is seen in far southern areas as how much snow is seen in the far northern areas. If you're north of Rutland, say, or if you're up kind of near Norwich, you're still going to get some snow, but it will not be quite as much. Still plowable though. I want to, as we kind of look at the forecast, I still think there's still a little bit of uncertainty as to exactly how much of the heaviest of band gets into our area. If we get into the heaviest band, my numbers are a little too low still, even though you're going to see that they've definitely come up again. If we don't, I think right now the heaviest band is going to basically be and not really get much beyond the Mass Vermont border. That doesn't mean we're not going to still get into pretty good snow, but I think there's going to be some jackpot totals with this storm somewhere in western New England, probably in western Massachusetts, maybe northwestern Connecticut, where totals are approaching 2 feet. You're going to see I don't have any 2-foot amounts on my map, but I think that's going to happen. I just don't think, I think it's going to be just south of here, but it's not impossible. It sneaks up into Vermont. So if you wake up tomorrow morning and it's just snowing like absolute crazy and you've already got 15 inches of snow, I would say that's unlikely, but not impossible, particularly if you're in far southern Vermont, and especially in the hilly terrain there. So just, I did warn you if that happens. But let's take a look at what's happening because a lot of stuff. You can see our storm is really starting to develop. Here's the upper level low that was kind of situated over the center part of the country yesterday. It's shooting in our direction, and as a response we have this surface low pressure that's building kind of along the front. And then you can see yesterday, if you watched my live stream, we spent quite a bit of time talking about this swirl of a low level low pressure system, which is still not really seeing a lot of explosive growth with it yet. But what's going to happen is as that continues to get some upper level support, this storm is really going to go gangbusters. Plus it's going to combine with this piece of energy here to create kind of a new surface low that will rapidly develop just kind of just on the east coast, just off of the North Carolina coast, or basically right on the North Carolina coast, which will head up in our direction and out to sea south of us, kind of from basically just south of Long Island and across Cape Cod. Pretty ideal storm track for us. You can see radar. There's lots of moisture. If you remember radar from last night, the radar was still pretty unimpressive. You can see how much moisture is getting added to this. And then if we look down south here, we can see we've really tapped the Gulf moisture at this point. So the Gulf of Mexico is open for business, and the Atlantic isn't quite open for business yet, but it's going to happen soon. And so that's why we already have a lot of moisture, and then we're going to toss a ton of Atlantic moisture in. And again, storm's not going to be overly strong really, but it is going to have tons of moisture, and it has a very strong high pressure system to the north. And sometimes it's not so much about how strong the specific storm is, but it's about the contrast between the low and the high pressure. And so there's going to be plenty of a difference between there to kind of create the kind of convergence, the kind of air moving together, which pushes air to move up, which then gives you your heavy snowfall rates. So there's going to be plenty of that. Temperatures, we are well set up for snow. You can see it across the Northeast. I was at about 7 degrees this morning. At my house, we're in the single digits mostly in southern Vermont this morning. Plenty cold, although you can also see that we're pretty close to the line there of where we go from cold to kind of really cold. And that's why, it's far northern New England is not going to get much snow out of the storm, particularly northern Maine, almost nothing. Even northern Vermont's going to get significantly less snow than we will here in southern Vermont, and that's because the cold air is just going to be a little too stuck in place there. So we're kind of right on the border. That's what we want. Probably, like I said, the best border spots would be a little bit further south of us. So, new snowfall map. Things haven't changed dramatically in terms of where the gradients of snow are going to be. It's still the most in the south, and of course higher terrain always adds a little bit more in the way of snowfall, but numbers have come up quite a bit. So I think basically everybody sees at least 5 inches of snow in the southern four counties out of the storm, and most of us see more than that. You can see we've got a lot of you in Rutland and Windsor County are going to see between 6 and 10 inches of snow. And then if we get into Windham and Bennington County, we're looking at more like closer to a foot of snow for a lot of us. Some places 10 to 16. Those more favored spots could even see a little bit more than the 16 inches. in southern, in the far southern, particularly Windham County, along the spine of the Green Mountains there. I wanted to give you an idea of what that looks like by town. So this is kind of a random smattering of towns. This is arranged so that these are sort of generally in the geographical area that they're in. So Brandon's looking at like 5 inches of snow. If you head over to like Heartland, 7 inches of snow. But if you head up into the higher terrain, kind of in the center of the state, Peru's looking at 11 inches of snow probably. Woodford down there in like the favored spot in the Green Mountains, maybe 18 inches of snow. Wilmington 15. So yeah, that kind of gives you an idea. You know, look for your town or look for a town near you. Gives you a pretty good idea. Don't quote me exactly on these numbers, but I think that gives you a pretty good idea. I wanted to try to give you a slightly different idea of who's going to get snow in a different format there. Storm details, we're still looking at a very similar, plenty of cold air for all snow this time. Snow starts by between 10 p.m. and midnight, so this evening won't be problematic. Probably it'll start snowing after you go to bed. Snowfall rates up to 2 to 3 inches an hour, possible between 2 a.m. and 10 a.m. And so travel gets real tough when snow starts to fall anything above 2 to, well, it gets tough anyways, but 2 to 3 inches an hour, it becomes hard to see. That's really, so you have to be really careful if you got to be driving tomorrow morning. It could be brutal out there in terms of you're just not going to be able to see much. So just, if you don't have to travel tomorrow morning, don't travel. Snow ends by about noon on Thursday tomorrow, and we should be clearing, starting to clear out pretty quickly. Like I said, travel will be tough in the morning. No school is basically a guarantee for everybody tomorrow. No in-person school, at least. If you're like my kids will have school, but just not in person. And snow is light and fluffy, and winds are not that strong, so no power problems anticipated. All right, so I will be back again tonight. I think I'm going to do another long 20-minute live stream or so where you have a chance to ask questions and go over all the details again and get really nerdy about the weather. Until then, I want to just thank my patrons who help support some of the stuff that I do here, and also just thank everybody else who watches. And if you want to make sure that you get my forecasts, I forecast the weather when it's not quite this interesting too, and you can subscribe to my YouTube channel for that, or certainly you can follow me on social media, on Facebook or on Twitter, or on, I have a website as too, westriverweatherguy.com, where I try to post all my stuff as well. So anyways, thanks for joining me, and I'll be back again tonight at, I'll let you know. I think it'll probably be 7 p.m. tonight that I'll do my live stream, but I will let you know for sure on Facebook or Twitter or something like that. Okay, we'll see you soon.